The lab technician's hands trembled as she handed me the envelope. Probability of paternity, 0.0%. While my daughter's crayon drawing of our family smiled from my wallet, that envelope felt heavier than paper should, like it contained the weight of 3 years, 9 months, and 14 days of believing something beautiful that was actually rotting from the inside. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where the demolition began. Controlled, they call it, in construction. When you bring down a building piece by piece so it doesn't damage everything around it. It was Lily's 3rd birthday party, October 15th. The cake said Daddy's Girl in pink frosting that cost $42 extra because Sarah insisted on the specialty roses. 27 family members in our backyard, my brother Jake manning the grill like he always did, that easy smile that made everyone love him. Sarah's phone buzzed on the picnic table next to the potato salad her mother brought, the one that's always too salty, but nobody says anything. Someone's popular today, her sister Emma said, glancing at the screen lighting up again. Sarah snatched it quick. Too quick. The kind of quick that makes your stomach know something before your brain catches up. Just work stuff. She was a dental hygienist. Saturday afternoon, I watched her thumb swipe across the screen, deleting without reading, but not before I saw the preview. 3 words. 3 words that shouldn't make a married woman's face go pale at her daughter's birthday party. Can't wait, beautiful. If you've ever felt something was wrong but couldn't name it, that moment when your body knows what your mind won't accept, leave that feeling here with me. Because what came next started with lavender paper. 4 days after the party, I found it tucked under my windshield wiper at work. Purple paper, the expensive kind from that stationery store Sarah loved downtown. No postmark. Someone had driven to my office, walked through the parking garage, and placed it there while I was in meetings about quarterly projections that suddenly seemed to matter less than they had an hour before. The handwriting was careful, feminine, but trying not to be. She's not yours. Ask yourself why she was so insistent on using that specific fertility clinic. Check their donor records for October 2020. Then check your brother's medical records from the same month. A friend who cares. My hands didn't shake. They turned to stone. That's what shock really feels like. Not drama, not collapse. Just your body becoming a thing instead of a person. I sat in my car for 43 minutes, engine off, reading those 5 sentences over and over until the words started to blur. The return address on the envelope was our fertility clinic. Jake had been our donor backup. Just in case, Sarah had said. Family is better than strangers. We'd all laughed about it over dinner at that Italian place on 5th Street, the one where Jake always ordered the osso buco. He'd made jokes about his superior genetic material while I threw breadsticks at him. Brothers? That's what brothers do. They joke. They help. They stand by you. They don't typically father your children while smiling at Sunday dinners. That night, I waited until Sarah was in the shower. The medicine cabinet mirror was still fogged when I opened it, her humming mixing with the water sound. Behind her vitamins, behind the aspirin we bought in bulk at Costco, I found them, birth control pills. The prescription date made me sit down on the toilet lid. March 2020, refilled April, May, June, July, August, September. Every month we were trying. Every month she cried in my arms about negative pregnancy tests. Every month she made doctor appointments and talked about my low motility, words she'd learned to pronounce perfectly, while hiding pills behind prenatal vitamins she never took. Lily was born July 2021. Do the math. The pills were refilled every month we were supposedly trying. I took pictures with my phone. 23 pictures, evidence. That's what you do when your world is ending. You document it like it's a crime scene, because it is. Someone murdered the life you thought you had, and you're standing over the body trying to figure out who held the knife. Her phone was on the nightstand. She always kept it face down since about 6 months ago. I knew her passcode, our anniversary. Wrong. I tried Lily's birthday. Also wrong. Then I tried Jake's birthday. It opened. You want to know what betrayal tastes like? Copper pennies. That's your blood from biting your tongue so hard you don't scream while your wife sings Disney songs in the shower 20 feet away. I didn't check texts. I couldn't. Not yet. But I saw the call log. 23 calls to one number in the past week, all while I was at work, all deleted from the visible log, but there in the full records. The number wasn't saved in her contacts, but I knew it. I'd known it since he got his first cell phone at 16. My little brother. 3 days later, I made the appointment at LabCorp. Told Sarah I was taking Lily for ice cream, just daddy-daughter time. She smiled and said, "Don't spoil her dinner." Like we were still playing house. Like the foundations hadn't already cracked. Lily brought her stuffed rabbit, the one with one ear longer than the other that she'd named Hoppy, because 3-year-olds are perfect at naming things exactly what they are. She sat on my lap in the waiting room, making Hoppy dance on my knee while other people stared at their phones or their feet or anywhere but at each other, because everyone in that waiting room was there to prove or disprove something that mattered. "Daddy sad?" she asked, those brown eyes. His eyes, I realized later, looking up at me. "No, baby, Daddy's just thinking." "Thinking is hard," she said, very seriously. "That's why I don't do it." The tech called us back. Rebecca, her name tag said. She'd done this before, you could tell. The way she didn't make eye contact too long. The way she spoke to Lily instead of me. "Hey, sweetheart, I just need to tickle your mouth with this special cotton swab, okay? Like brushing teeth, but easier." Lily opened wide, proud of her cooperation. "A good girl." "The best girl," I said, and meant it. Because whatever else was true, that was still true. She was good. She was innocent. She was 3 years old, and none of this was her fault. Rebecca sealed Lily's swab in a tube with a barcode, then looked at me. "Father?" That word, father, such a simple word that suddenly felt like a question I couldn't answer. I nodded and opened my mouth. The swab scraped against my cheek for 4 seconds that lasted 4 years. She asked if I wanted expedited results. For custody cases? The waiting was 9 days. 9 days of Sarah asking why I was quiet. 9 days of Jake texting about basketball games and should he bring beer to next Sunday's dinner. 9 days of Lily climbing into my lap every evening for stories about princesses and dragons, while I wondered whose eyes I was really looking into. The FedEx truck came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I had taken the day off, told work I had a migraine. Wasn't even a lie. My head felt like it might split open from the pressure of waiting. The driver had me sign on his electronic pad. Just another delivery, just another envelope that would change everything. I sat at the kitchen table. Sarah's coffee mug from that morning still there, lipstick mark on the rim, that coral color she'd worn since college. Lily's breakfast plate with crusts she wouldn't eat no matter how many times we told her that's where the nutrients were. Normal morning debris from a life I was about to find out never existed. The envelope tore easily, too easily for something so heavy. Inside, clinical language, formal, proper, the kind of words that lawyers and scientists use to make devastating things sound procedural. But I only needed to see one line, one number. Probability of paternity, 0.0%, 0.00. They add the extra zeros to make sure you understand. This isn't 0.5% or 0.05%. This is nothing, null. The absence of biological connection presented in mathematical certainty. I pulled out Lily's crayon drawing from my wallet. The one she'd made me last week. Stick figures, but you could tell who was who. Daddy was tallest, wearing the blue tie she always drew on me. Mommy had yellow hair, and Lily in the middle, holding both our hands, a heart over her head. My family she'd written at the top, the I missing because spelling is hard when you're 3. The second page of the results listed someone else's DNA markers, labeled likely match. but I already knew whose they would be. I waited 3 days before confronting her. 3 days to let the DNA results burn a hole through our bedroom dresser drawer, where I'd hidden them under warranties for appliances we'd bought together. 3 days to practice keeping my face normal while she talked about Lily's preschool applications and whether we should refinance the house. 3 days to download a voice recorder app on my phone and test it 17 times to make sure it would catch everything. Thursday night. Jake was at his bowling league. I knew because he'd texted the group chat about his turkey in the third frame. Sarah was folding laundry, Lily already asleep, baby monitor crackling occasionally with her sleep sounds. Little sighs that used to make me smile and now made me wonder whose grandmother she'd inherited them from. "We need to talk," I said. She looked up from matching socks. "About what?" I placed the FedEx envelope on top of the pile of Lily's clean pajamas. Watched her face do that thing faces do when they're trying to decide which lie will work best. The calculations happening in real time, deny, deflect, or confess. I'd seen her do it before, I realized. Small things. Who ate the last yogurt? Whether she'd remembered to pay the water bill. Practice runs for this moment. "What is this?" Her voice pitched higher, acting confused. She was bad at it when it mattered. "Open it." "Mark, I don't—" "Open it, Sarah." My phone was recording in my chest pocket, the app showing the waveforms of our voices, documenting the end of everything. She opened it slowly, read it slower. I watched her eyes track left to right, then stop at the same line mine had. The zeros, all those zeros, no denial, no excuse. Just silence. "How long?" I asked. She set the papers down carefully, like they might explode. Folded the towel she was holding once, twice, 3 times. Precision in meaningless tasks while the meaningful ones lay shattered between us. "Does it matter?" "Everything matters. How long?" She looked at the baby monitor, at Lily's door down the hall, at everything except me. "Since your bachelor party." My bachelor party. Jake had organized it. Vegas because that's what you do. That's what brothers do. He'd been my best man 2 months later, held the rings, made a speech about loyalty and family, and knowing when you found the one. All of it, our entire marriage? No. She picked up another towel, set it down. It stopped for a while. When we started trying, really trying, I wanted it to be yours. I took all the supplements, did the temperature tracking, everything. But your numbers. My numbers were fine. Not great, but fine. The doctor said, I know what the doctor said. Her voice cracked. But Jake was there, and he was so sure it would work. The clinic, using him as backup. He said it was the only way to make sure we had a family, that you'd never have to know. The room spun, not dramatically. Just a slow tilt, like being on a boat you didn't know was moving. He said his name, my brother's name. The words came out of my mouth, but sounded like someone else, someone calmer, someone whose brother hadn't orchestrated the theft of his life while eating Sunday dinners at his table. Sarah started crying, not the pretty tears from movies, the ugly kind with snot and gasping that makes you look like what you really are, a person who's done something unforgivable and knows it. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Then how? How was it supposed to happen? You'd pass her off as mine forever? What about when she got older and looked just like him? What about... I stopped. Listened to the baby monitor. A small cough, Lily shifting in her sleep. What about her? When were you going to tell her? Never. We agreed. Jake and I agreed. Stop. I held up my hand. Don't say his name again. Not in this house. She nodded, wiped her nose with the towels she'd been folding. Our good towels, the ones we'd registered for at our wedding. Jake had bought us the set. Of course he had. I left the recorder running for another 2 hours, got every detail, every admission, the when, the where, the how many times. The answers came easier after the first dam broke. She told me about meetups during my work trips, about the apartment Jake had supposedly been subletting, but was really their place, about how it wasn't just once, it was our entire engagement. The next morning, I drove to Jake's apartment, the real one, not the fictional sublet. He opened the door in basketball shorts and no shirt, coffee mug in hand, that easy smile starting, then stopping when he saw my face. "Mark, what's wrong? Is Lily okay?" Hearing her name in his mouth made my fists clench. But I didn't hit him. Violence would complicate what came next. Instead, I pushed past him into his apartment. Our parents' photo on his mantle, the baseball glove we'd shared as kids on his bookshelf, trophies from high school when I'd taught him to throw a curveball. "We need to call Mom and Dad," I said, pulling out my phone. "What? Why? Mark, you're scaring me." I put them on speaker when they answered, Mom's voice cheerful. "Oh, both my boys, what a nice surprise." "Tell 'em," I said to Jake. "Tell us what?" Dad's voice now, concerned. Jake's face went through the same calculations Sarah's had, but he was always smarter than her. Quicker. He saw the trap. Deny. And I'd play the recording, confess, and at least control the narrative. "Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something." I watched him crumble in real time. The golden boy, the charmer, the one who could talk his way out of anything, reduced to stammering out words that made our mother gasp and our father go silent. "It wasn't just once," I said when he tried to minimize it. "Tell them the truth, all of it." So he did. The bachelor party, the engagement, the fertility clinic conspiracy, the apartment. Our mother threw up. We could hear her retching through the phone while our father said, "Jesus Christ, Jake, Jesus Christ," over and over. Is Lily? Mom couldn't finish the question. "She's mine," Jake said quietly. "Biologically, she's mine." The baseball glove sat there between us. Worn leather, property of Collins brothers, written in faded Sharpie from when we were kids and thought we'd share everything forever. It wasn't just once. It was our entire engagement. I picked up the glove, threw it at him harder than I'd ever thrown anything. He didn't try to catch it. Monday morning, I sat in a lawyer's office that smelled like leather and disappointment. Diane Hartman, Esquire. Recommended by a colleague who'd been through what he called an ugly one. But his ugly and my ugly were different species. "In the state of Connecticut," she said, hands folded over my file, "you're listed on the birth certificate. You've been acting as her father for 3 years. Legally speaking." I know what legally speaking means. I've Googled it 70 times this week. She nodded, patient. "The court considers the best interest of the child, not biological facts. You've been her psychological parent since birth. That matters more than DNA. So I could get custody?" "You could, but..." She pulled out a different folder. "Connecticut also allows for paternity fraud cases. Criminal prosecution is possible. However, proving intent is difficult, and family court is separate from criminal court." "What about him, Jake? What are his rights?" "Currently, none. He's not on the birth certificate. He hasn't filed for paternity. As far as the state's concerned, he's her uncle." She leaned forward. "But if he decides to file, if they work together, it could get complicated. In this state, you're legally the father. Biology doesn't matter. The words should have been comforting. They weren't. They were just another trap in a maze of traps, each one sprung by people who supposedly loved me. 2 weeks later, mediation. A beige room in a building that specialized in the business of ending things. Sarah across the table with her lawyer, a man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The mediator, Janet, had inspirational quotes on her notebook and kept offering us water like hydration could solve betrayal. Sarah had prepared a proposal. She'd typed it up, printed it on good paper. Like this was a business presentation instead of the division of a life built on lies. She wanted the house for stability. For Lily, she wanted alimony. Standard calculation based on our income disparity. She wanted child support. Despite everything, despite the laboratory-confirmed fraud, she wanted me to pay for Jake's child. "This is insane," I said. "It's standard divorce procedure," her lawyer said. "Standard? She committed fraud. She conspired with my brother. She—" "Alleged," her lawyer interrupted. "Alleged fraud, and irrelevant to support calculations under state guidelines." Sarah wouldn't look at me. She'd worn the earrings I'd bought her for our anniversary. The audacity of that. The absolute audacity. "I'm willing to be reasonable," she said to the table. "We can do shared custody. 50-50. But Lily needs consistency. The house is all she's known." She wanted alimony and the house for their stability. Janet, the mediator, smiled her professional smile. "Perhaps we could discuss a graduated transition, something that prioritizes Lily's adjustment." I stood up. My lawyer grabbed my arm, but I shook her off. "Her name is on nothing. The mortgage is mine. The car loan's mine. For 3 years, I've paid for everything while she played house with my brother. And now she wants to keep playing with my money? No." "Mr. Collins," Janet said, "please, think of your daughter." "She's not—" I stopped. Caught myself. Because legally, she was. Because a 3-year-old doesn't understand DNA. Because love doesn't need permission from science. "We're done here," I said. That night, Lily had a nightmare. She padded into my room. Sarah was in the guest room by then. Giving space, she called it. Lily climbed up next to me. Hoppy the rabbit clutched against her chest. "Bad dream," she whispered. "Want to tell me about it?" She shook her head, pressed closer. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby." "Why does Mommy cry when she looks at Uncle Jake?" My heart stopped. Children see everything. They hear everything. They understand more than we think and less than we fear. "What do you mean?" "At my birthday and at Grandma's, Mommy looks at Uncle Jake and gets sad. Is Uncle Jake sick?" 3 years old. 3 years of thinking the world was one way when it was another. 3 years of calling me daddy while carrying someone else's DNA. 3 years that were both a lie and the truest thing I'd ever known. "No, baby, Uncle Jake's not sick." "Then why? How do you explain betrayal to someone who doesn't even know the word? How do you protect innocence while your world burns down around it?" "Sometimes grown-ups get sad about complicated things." She thought about this seriously, the way kids do when they're trying to fit new information into their small understanding of the world. "Is it my fault?" "No." I pulled her closer. "Nothing is your fault. Nothing will ever be your fault." "Okay," she yawned. "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "You won't get complicated sad, right?" I kissed the top of her head, smelled her strawberry shampoo, made a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. "Not with you, baby. Never with you." She fell asleep against my shoulder, Hoppy's longer ear tickling my chin. I lay there listening to her breathe, feeling the weight of her trust, the simplicity of her love. In the morning, there would be lawyers and documents and decisions, but right then, in the dark, she was just my daughter who had a bad dream. Why does Mommy cry when she looks at Uncle Jake? The question hung in the air like an indictment. Even Lily knew. Some part of her had always known something was wrong, the way kids absorb tension like sponges, soaking up what we think we're hiding. My phone buzzed. Jake again. The 37th text since the confrontation. "Please, we need to talk. I love her too." I deleted it. Like Sarah had deleted his calls from her log. Like we all delete the things we don't want to face until they come back anyway, demanding to be seen. The family summit happened at my parents' house on a Sunday that should have been Thanksgiving, but felt more like a reckoning. 23 years of holiday photos watched from the walls as 12 family members filed into the living room. Sarah's parents, her sister Emma, my cousins who'd flown in from Boston, Uncle Ray, who never missed family drama, and in the corner, the family Bible my grandmother had signed, when each of us was born. Jake wasn't invited. Jake wasn't welcome. Jake was somewhere else becoming the ghost he had always been. We just hadn't seen it. My father stood first, 6'2" of disappointment and rage barely contained in his best suit, the one he wore to church and funerals. "We're here to decide what's right," he said. "Not legal, right." Sarah's mother clutched her purse like it might fly away. "This is a private matter. It should stay private." "Private?" My mother's voice could have frozen July. "Your daughter and my son—" She stopped, corrected. "One of my sons conspired to steal a life, to build a family on deception. That's not private, that's theft." Emma shifted in her seat. Sarah's younger sister, the quiet one, the one who'd been at every family dinner, watching everything. She pulled an envelope from her bag. Lavender, that same expensive stationery. "I wrote the letter," she said. The room turned to her. Sarah's face went white. "You?" I couldn't watch anymore. Emma's hands shook, but her voice didn't. 3 years of watching you lie, watching you and Jake at every family gathering, thinking nobody noticed. But I noticed. Mom noticed too, didn't you? Sarah's mother looked away, confirmation in silence. "There's more," Emma said. She pulled out a folder. "I hired someone, a private investigator. I'm sorry, Mark, but I thought you should know everything before you decided anything." She handed me the folder. Inside, photographs, bank statements, hotel receipts going back 4 years. 4 years, before our engagement, before the proposal at the beach where Jake had helped me set up the candles. "Page 12, Emma said quietly. Page 12 was a birth certificate, not Lily's, another child. Born February 2019. Mother, Ashley Morrison. Father, unknown. But there was a photo. A boy, maybe 4 now, with Jake's exact nose, his eyes, that cowlick that went left no matter what. Page 18. Another birth certificate. September 2020. Different mother, same absent father, same familiar features in another photo. Even her sister stood with me, holding evidence I hadn't seen. "How many?" I asked Emma. "That I found? 3, including Lily." She looked at Sarah. "Did you know?" Sarah was crying again. The ugly kind that meant truth was coming. "I knew about Ashley. That's why I started with Jake. He told me she meant nothing, that I was different, that we were getting even." "Even?" I laughed. Actually laughed. "Even for what? What did I do?" "You were perfect," she said. "You were always so perfect. Everything planned, everything controlled. Jake was—" She stopped. Jake was what? Exciting. There it was. The word that explained everything and nothing. Exciting. I was building a life. He was building moments. I was creating stability. He was creating chaos. And chaos won, because chaos always feels more alive until you're standing in its wreckage. There were 2 other children, in different states. Uncle Ray spoke up. "The boy needs to pay. Both of them need to pay." "How?" Sarah's father finally spoke. "You can't prosecute feelings." "No," I said, "but you can prosecute fraud." I pulled out my phone, played the recording from that night in our bedroom, Sarah's voice admitting to the deception, the fertility clinic, the birth control pills, the conspiracy. Every family member listening to my wife confess to stealing my genetic future while I folded laundry in the background. When it finished, Sarah's mother stood up. "We'll pay for your lawyer," she said, not to Sarah, to me. "Whatever it costs, Harold and I will pay." Sarah gasped. "Mom, you're my daughter. I love you. But what you did was evil. And this man," she pointed at me, "has been raising your child, my grandchild, with love while you betrayed him every single day. He deserves justice. And Lily—" Her voice broke. "Lily deserves a father who chose her even when he didn't have to." The vote was unanimous. Even Sarah's family sided with truth over blood. 2 days later, I met with the private investigator Emma had hired, Marcus Washington, former cop, current finder of things people wish stayed hidden. He had more than Emma had shown, so much more. Your brother's been busy, he said, sliding a tablet across the diner table. These are just the ones where DNA tests were filed with courts. There could be more who never pursued it. 7 paternity cases in 6 states over 5 years. Jake, the perpetual uncle, the charming visitor, the guy who helped couples who couldn't conceive until suddenly they could. This one's interesting, Marcus said, pulling up an email thread. He was actually advertising on fertility forums. Not explicitly, but hanging around, making friends with desperate couples, offering to be a known donor for the right situations. Right situations? Married women, stable homes, husbands with fertility issues. He looked at me carefully. He wasn't just sleeping around. He was shopping for families he could orbit. Christmas visits, birthday parties, watching his kids grow up without the responsibility. My coffee went cold while I processed this. Jake hadn't just betrayed me. He'd built a system, a network of part-time fatherhood spread across the country like franchises. Will this help in court? Your lawyer will know better, but patterns matter. Systematic deception looks different than a single affair. The court date came in February, 4 months after the birthday party that started everything. Sarah had gotten her own apartment by then, taking Lily Thursday through Sunday, while I had Monday through Wednesday. Those handoffs in the grocery store parking lot were the hardest parts, watching Lily confused about why Daddy and Mommy needed neutral ground. The courtroom smelled like old wood and disappointment. Judge Patricia Hendricks presiding, a woman who had seen enough family destructions to build a city from its rubble. Sarah's lawyer had filed for primary custody, alimony, child support, and the house. My lawyer had filed counter motions I didn't fully understand, but included words like fraud and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Sarah testified first, cried pretty this time, the practice kind, talked about Lily's need for stability, about maintaining her standard of living, about how I'd been emotionally distant since discovering the situation. That's what her lawyer called it. The situation, like it was weather or traffic, something that just happened. Then I testified. Diane had prepared me, but nothing prepares you for explaining your brother's betrayal to a room of strangers while a court reporter types every word. Did you know about the affair before your daughter's birth? Sarah's lawyer asked. No. So for 3 years, you believed you were her biological father? Yes. And you acted as her father, financially, emotionally, in all ways? Yes. Then what's changed? You're still the same man who raised her. I looked at the judge. What's changed is that every decision was based on fraud. I didn't choose to raise another man's child. That choice was stolen from me, but now I'm choosing. Despite everything, I'm choosing to be her father. That's the difference. Now it's real because it's chosen. Emma testified about what she'd seen. My parents testified about Jake's admission. Marcus, the investigator, presented his evidence. 7 other children. A pattern of predatory behavior targeting vulnerable couples. Then, something unexpected. Ashley Morrison, the mother of Jake's first child, had flown in from Denver. She asked to testify. He did the same thing to us, she said. Befriended my husband at the gym, became our friend, offered to help when we couldn't conceive, said it would be our secret. But secrets don't stay secret when the baby looks exactly like the family friend. 3 other women submitted written statements. Same pattern, same promises, same devastation when the truth came out. The judge used a word I hadn't expected, fraud. This court finds clear evidence of systematic deception, Judge Hendricks said. While biological paternity is established as Mr. Jake Collins, the pattern of fraud, the conspiracy to deceive, and the intentional infliction of emotional distress warrant exceptional consideration. She awarded me primary custody. The house remained mine. No alimony to Sarah. Fraud negated those claims. Child support would come from Jake, not me, once paternity was legally established. Furthermore, the judge continued, this court recommends criminal investigation into potential fraud charges. This goes beyond family court's jurisdiction, but the evidence warrants examination. Sarah collapsed. Her mother held her while she sobbed about unfairness. But justice and fairness are different things. Fairness would have been never living this lie. Justice was what we got instead. After court, in the parking lot, Sarah approached. No lawyers, just us. I'm sorry, she said. I know it doesn't matter, but I'm sorry. It does matter. It just doesn't change anything. Will you let me see her? Every Thursday through Sunday, like the judge ordered. But Sarah? I waited until she looked at me. If you ever bring Jake around her, if he ever tries to contact her, I'll pursue every legal option available. Criminal charges, restraining orders, everything. She's my daughter, mine. Biology doesn't change that. She nodded. He's moving to California anyway. Says he needs to start over. Running away, like he always had. 7 children in 6 states and counting. None of them knowing their siblings existed. The new house was smaller, a 2-bedroom rental near Lily's preschool, but it was ours. Real ours. Not built on lies, ours. The first night there, I let Lily pick her room color. She chose purple. Like Mommy's favorite, she said. And I painted it anyway because you don't punish children for loving people who hurt you. Her room came together piece by piece. The bed shaped like a castle, shelves for the books we read every night. A desk for coloring, where she made me pictures. I hung on the refrigerator with magnets that said things like, World's Best Dad. Sarah had bought them before, but they stayed because irony shouldn't deprive a child of refrigerator art. 3 weeks after moving in, Lily had her first sleepover at the new place. She'd been quiet since the split, processing in the way kids do, through play and questions and sudden tears about unrelated things. Daddy? She stood in my doorway at midnight, Hoppy under one arm. Can't sleep? She climbed into my bed. Is this home now? Yeah, baby, this is home. But Mommy's not here. No, Mommy has her own home. You have 2 homes now. She thought about this. Like 2 birthdays? Not quite. Daddy? She played with Hoppy's longer ear. Did I do something bad? No, baby, never. Why would you think that? Cassie at school says divorce happens when kids are bad. Cassie at school is wrong. Divorce happens when grown-ups make mistakes. You're perfect. You've always been perfect. She smiled. Then, very quietly, Are you my real daddy? My heart stopped. What do you mean? Grandma was crying, and she said something about real daddy. Am I adopted? 4 years old now. Too young for truth. Too smart for lies. I'm your real daddy in all the ways that matter. I changed your diapers, taught you to walk, read you stories. I'm the one who loves you most in the whole world. That makes me as real as it gets. She seemed satisfied with this. Good, because Tyler has a stepdad and he's mean. You're not mean. Never to you. She chose her own name for me. Real Daddy. She fell asleep against my shoulder like she had since she was born, since before I knew, since before it mattered, since love was just love, without qualifiers or questions or DNA tests hidden in drawer beneath warranties. The next morning, she drew a new picture, 3 people but arranged differently. Me in the middle, her on one side, Anne on the other side, a dog. Who's that? I asked. The dog we're gonna get. His name is Waffles. We're getting a dog? Real daddies get dogs. We got the dog. A rescue mutt who looked like he'd been assembled from spare parts. Lily named him Waffles and taught him to sit by giving him entirely too many treats. He slept on her bed, guardian of purple walls and dreams that were finally, truly peaceful. If someone chose to love you when they didn't have to, or if you've chosen to love a child, share your story. The world needs to hear that love wins. 6 months after the court date, I sat down to write Lily a letter. For her 18th birthday, whenever that impossible future date arrived, the sealed envelope sits in a safety deposit box along with her birth certificate, the adoption papers I'm filing despite everything, and one crayon drawing, the first one she made after the move. Dear Lily, the letter begins. If you're reading this, you're 18 and probably have questions I couldn't answer when you were younger. By now you might know about DNA, about biology, about the technical definition of father. Let me tell you about the real definition. A father is who shows up at 3 a.m. when you have nightmares. A father is who teaches you to ride a bike and doesn't let go until you're ready, not a second before. A father is who goes to terrible school plays and claps the loudest. A father is who loves you not because of blood, but because of choice, and choice is so much more powerful than biology. Your mother and I made mistakes. Your biological father made worse ones. But you were never a mistake. You were the plot twist that made the story worth telling. You were the truth that made all the lies irrelevant. Biology gave you life, but choice gave you a father, and I chose you every day despite everything. Because of everything, I chose you. I choose you still. I will choose you always. When you were 3, you called me real daddy, and you were right. Not because of DNA, but because real is what shows up. Real is what stays. Real is what loves you at your worst and celebrates you at your best. Real is teaching you that families aren't built on chromosomes, but on choices. And the choice to love someone is the most powerful force in the universe. If you have children someday, biological or chosen, remember this. Love doesn't need permission from science. It doesn't require blood tests or matching genes. It only requires showing up, staying present, and choosing them over and over until the choosing becomes as natural as breathing. You might find this letter and feel angry that we kept things from you. That's okay. Feel it all. But know that every bedtime story, every scraped knee kissed, every proud moment at your graduations and victories, all of it was real as anything has ever been. Waffles is long gone by now, probably, but remember how he loved you without question. That's how love works. It doesn't check paperwork first. Biology is just a rough draft. Love is the final copy. Forever, your real daddy, Mark. The letter is sealed. Waiting. Like so much of parenting is waiting. For the right time, the right words, the right moment to explain that the world is both more broken and more beautiful than we let children know. Tomorrow is Lily's 4th birthday party. We're having it at the new house, smaller than before. Sarah will come for the cake part, then leave. Jake is in California or Texas or wherever men go when they've planted too many seeds in gardens they'll never tend. My parents will be there, older now, worn by the weight of having one son who stayed and one who ran. I bought a cake. It says Daddy's Girl because that's what it said last year, and consistency matters more than accuracy. Lily helped me frost it, getting more on herself than the cake, laughing the way kids do when mess is allowed. That crayon drawing from the DNA day sits framed in my office. Not hidden, not displayed, just there. A reminder that my family with the missing eye was always real, even when everything else wasn't. The new drawing, the one with waffles and the purple house and me in the middle, hangs on the refrigerator. Both are true, both are ours, both are real. I kept one thing from that day. Not the test results I shredded, not the marriage I left behind, but her crayon drawing that said, "My real daddy," because love doesn't need permission from DNA. The technician's hands had trembled when she'd handed me those results. But my hands are steady now when I tuck Lily in, when I sign her school forms, when I write father on every document that asks. Real is what we choose. And I choose this. Every day, despite the storm that brought us here, I choose this. Love doesn't need permission. It never did.